And my workout is basically doing this for 30 minutes straight. And normally my average heart rate has been 152. This time my average heart rate was 138.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't okay. It's a placebo. No. My muscles don't play games with placebos. My muscles tell me the truth. I'm going to give you this and then I'm done. That's it. So that actually never happened. At the end of the night, I was like this, and they was like, "We going home," and I'm like, "Come on, guy. I need to feel tapped out." I just won just because I was able to wear him down.
Frank Yosef, CEO of Ketone Ester. I got Brian Pace here, our table tennis expert. I was really excited to get him to try it out because I think that might be one of the fastest sports around, right?
It's one of the fastest reflex sports for sure.
Right. Yeah. So I'm dying to see what the Ketone Ester would do, and so we haven't talked on the phone or even video yet. And I wanted to get it, firsthand knowledge. You sent me a couple texts saying that it was crazy great. So I think I sent you 40 grams?
60, because I'm 207 pounds, so you say 60 grams. And our protocol, our protocol was take one generation you can with one gel, and then after that, take the ketone aid. And I didn't have to do it with Perrier. I just listen, when you want a good performance, taste doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, I just want to, I don't know, some people still expect Gatorade, and it's a shock for some people. So I just like to give the protocol for the best tasting option, and then from there you can do whatever you want. So it only gets well, if you didn't even do it with sparkling water, then you're fine. So how did it go?
Well, like I said before, this is a competitive Wednesday night training / competition, and normally I don't train so hard before, but this time I said, if I'm going to be burning fat, I'm going to try to train hard. And what ended up happening is my training session, normally I can go lactic acid. Here's basically my heart rate monitor, right? So I'm normally in the 160s when I'm training. I'm probably in low 140s, same effort. And my workout is basically doing this for 30 minutes straight. And normally my average heart rate has been 152. This time my average heart rate was 138.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we saw that with Daniel Holloway. He had a 5% drop in his heart rate for the same exerted effort that he did a year earlier in the national championship. So it does change your heart rate. So some people do their workouts to heart rate. That might not be advisable here because you'd have to, if it drops it down for you 14 beats, and then you're trying to bring it back up to 152 because you want that to be the baseline, mess you up.
At under 140, I was doing the same tempo as 155. I can't move my arm any faster without thinking I'm going to hurt myself. So that's, that kind of let me know that whatever this is truly burning fat. And again, when the whole keto,
right. Let's go over that comment.
What's happening?
Did it kick you out?
Sorry about that. I'll have to edit that out. So you've said that a couple times. So you said you're burning. Actually, that's some of the ketone salts have made comments to that degree, but you're burning the ester itself. So some people think that you drink an exogenous ketone and you've got ketones in your blood, you're burning fat. That's the pitch. But it's actually
I'm not even tapping into my stores.
Not initially. Now there's some indication that after you burn through the ketone ester that you drank, or the ketones that you drank, that it might signal and create some endogenous ketone production. But for the most part,
for 3.5 hours. Like
right. So let's say
when I'm tapped into my stores and I can feel it depleting, I know when that's happening, and it didn't
right.
happen. So for me,
right.
Burning fat or burning the esters, I never tap
right.
into my gas tank. You know.
Yeah. That's cool. So it's supposed to last 2 hours. So, you know, if we did this again, we test blood ketones, and if after 2 hours, some people, they're supposed to be at 0.5, but other people are still at, 3 or 4. That's an indication that, yes, now you're burning fat after the 2 hours. You've burned through the ester, and that sounds like that happened to you because you're 3 to 4 hours. Mathematically, it shouldn't last that long. Some people, even after 90 minutes of high exertion, they're able to burn through it. So that's very interesting. So you were able to.
I went from 5:30 to 9. Didn't eat anything, didn't drink anything. Basically did a 30-minute workout nonstop. It's similar to cycling, but this is just working in speed and touch and looking at my numbers. And then I played 3 hours.
And how much of a break in between your half an hour? How much in between?
Most matches last about 15 minutes. But this is 15 minutes where you basically, 15 minutes hardcore, and then you say who's next on the sheet, and then you play the next person. So this is 15 minutes hard, 5 minutes off for 3 hours.
Okay.
And
how is your recovery in that 5 minute, period getting into the next one? What's your recovery normally as far as, fatigue level, either for the first few games or just?
What it is for me is just, I'm doing this and then bam. That actually never happened. At the end of the night, I was like this, and they was like, we going home. And I'm like, come on, the guy, I need to feel tapped out. And I just didn't feel tapped out. So for me, I got home and my wife saw that the ketone aid was empty. And she said, how was it? And I said, that's liquid crack. For athletes, because, I'm in the supplement industry as a table tennis athlete and endurance cyclist. So I read all the literature and all of these other companies saying, this should be illegal and this should be illegal because it has ginkgo biloba or it has rhodiola rosea. And I was like, no. This should actually be illegal. Because listen, I'm 45. I've been in sports over 32 years. I know how my body actually functions, so.
Let's talk about that for a second. Why should it be illegal? Just because something works, does that mean that it should be made illegal? If beet juice, orange beet juice, was proven to be successful,
you're right.
Should that be, the end?
You're right. You got a point. I can show you something. I have. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Listen,
I like this discussion because
that is beet juice, right? And what I also have, if I ever cramp up, is pickle juice, right? So I'm just a fanatic. So when I say it should be illegal, what I mean is, that's an unfair advantage based on what my experience has been so far. Everything has had a limit, and then it just falls off. I'm built like a football player, but I love endurance sports. My weakness has been when I'm on E, I'm done. And that didn't happen. And listen, I know it wasn't, it's a placebo. No. My muscles don't play games with placebos. My muscles tell me the truth. I'm going to give you this, and then I'm done. That's it. So for me, it wasn't anything to debate. I wanted to be, truthful with myself. And in the night, I was like, I need something else to do because I haven't tapped into it yet. So
you went and cleaned the garage. So what about you then decided to go back and take the glucose, replicate the glucose portion of the equation to make sure, well, you're fairly keto, or at least you're low carb, so maybe it was just this sudden glucose burst. So then you went back and did just glucose, right? How did that?
Didn't work.
Nothing.
Listen, I've exclusively done keto or Generation UCAN. Almost never done glucose, just because for me, glucose is like putting a twig in gasoline and dropping it on the fire. It just
right, yeah.
For me. So when you said do UCAN and this glucose and then do ketone aid, I said, okay, I'll do that. But
okay.
I don't like to do glucose because for me, it literally, see, this doesn't happen. You know what happens? That. It just.
Well, let me. So I don't confuse other people, because my default protocol, I say no, you can, because I wanted to kind of play around with that. So the idea is that the ketone aid, ketone ester, will tank your blood glucose. So in order to have, and all it does is replace one fuel source with another fuel source that you could say is stronger and longer lasting, but for the most part, we don't see much gains, with a few exceptions in weightlifting. So what we do is we do the fast acting glucose to spike your glucose, and then 20 minutes later you take the ketones and you bring it back down with the idea that you'll be maintaining. And we didn't want people doing just UCAN because we're fearful that they wouldn't get that same spike, and then they would just be easing along, and then the ketones would. But so for you were with your keto background, you didn't want to take too much glucose, a 1-to-1 ratio, or even 1 to 1.2 to 1 ratio. So we decided to do half. I think we decided to do 40% total carbs less,
right,
and then break that in half. So instead of like 3 gel packs, it was 1 gel pack and the equivalent amount of UCAN, so that we can have a spike, but then also some steady. And I think we might end up finding out that the UCAN might be more beneficial for some people, because we have found people that are getting lightheaded after 45 minutes to an hour. So what's happening is, the glucose is going down. So if they had this slow acting glucose, it might actually just start, catching them on their way down. So it might end up being useful. But, until we have tens of thousands of drinks to try 1,000 different things, your N of 1, is going to be passed on to the next guy that might have a similar makeup and, food intake that you do. Yeah. Very interesting. Okay. What about, did you win? Do you normally always win? Like, how did you do performance-wise? Like, I understand you were stable, but did you win more than you normally do, or how was that?
My normal record is always either 7-2 or 6-3. And that particular night, it was 8-1. So
okay.
I won, one more match over somebody that I normally, if we play 10 times, he probably wins 6. And really what it was is, see, in table tennis is who can throw the hardest punches in the 12th round. Right, because at some point we're even. So if I am less fatigued, I'm going to be more aggressive. If he's more fatigued, he's going to go from boxing to wrestling. So literally at the end of the match, I could look at him and say, he don't want to be here because he's tired.
Right.
I just won just because I was able to wear him down. And normally it's me that's backing off and trying to find another way to win the point just because that's happening.
Right.
When this happens, your strategy goes up. How can I find a way to play trickery? See, in cycling, you can't do that. When you tapped out, you just get dropped. In table tennis, when you tapped out, you start wrestling. I'm not going to really confront you. I'm going to find a trick way to win a point. And he was just exhausted. And 3 days later, he said, do it again. And I couldn't do it again. And I was like, if Frank had sent me that second one, I would have went to the store and got it. I went to the bike shop and got a gel and says, you're going to get it again. That's the reason I said, I'm going to try to see if I can get close to it. But the issue with this is there is a spike and a fast drop.
Right. Yeah.
That was the difference, you know, that hour and a half tops.
Did you notice any time dilation or slow motion where the ball just moved 5 or 10% slower? Were your reaction time being any different? It's okay if you didn't.
I just felt stronger.
Right. Okay.
Normally when this happens. Well, what happens if that just happens? Okay.
Okay. So you were the same. You were the same at the end, or close to the same at the end as you were at the beginning, but your beginning wasn't necessarily better. That's fine. I mean, so some people, like the motorcycle guys, the start of their race, they had this time dilation where it was like slow motion, and they were able to get out of the gate a millisecond faster, hit that turn a millisecond faster, and that was at the beginning. So your experience was, yours is more about.
That's actually not true. My 30-minute workout by myself was 14 beats lower.
Right. Your heart rate. Yeah. Okay.
I literally, wait a minute. I normally do this workout at 155. I'm at 138. Okay.
Right.
Physically, I'm on a different level. Okay. I can feel that because I'm a statistical fanatic just with numbers. I'm on Strava. I look at heart rate, speed. When I train with this, I download it and I just look at it. I do the same workout every Wednesday. It was different. So I said, whatever's going to happen is going to be a better night than most, just because I don't like in the black neighborhood, we got this saying, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Like, numbers lie. So that I knew coming in, and it wasn't a placebo because I was waiting to see, am I just going fake and get tired? Is it just going to wear off and all of a sudden I don't have anything in the tank? At the end of the night, they were packing it in. And I'm like, I know.
Cyclist Greg Henderson said something similar. He said, watts are watts. Watts don't lie. You can't just, fudge the watts. Okay, great. And what about how was your night's sleep, your wake up the next morning, and did you do any workouts the next day that seemed a little bit, hey, wait a second, I would normally be sore, or you were noticing any different performance in the next 2 days?
The only thing I noticed physically is I had to pee more. Throughout
you have to pee more.
I normally don't have to pee that much. That's the only difference. And maybe.
Well, that's interesting. Well, when you're keto, you release more liquids. So I wonder if that has something to do with, endogenous ketone production being created and your body, releasing liquids, which is why you need to take in some salt when you're doing the ketogenic diet, because of that, 8 pounds of water loss. That's right. The first I've heard of that. So that's interesting.
Because my wife was like, why do you keep getting up? I was like, I gotta pee. And normally, no, I go to bed. I don't look. I mean, I sleep like a brick. I just sleep in one spot. And she was like, do you have to do something? And I was like, no, I had to pee. So
do we have to put a warning label on the bottle that says may make you have to pee at night?
May pee more. May wake up spouse.
Okay, and then the next day, just your work day, either workout, mental workout, or anything, mood, even anything different the following day?
Nothing different. It's again, see, like when you're a performance junkie like me, what happens is that's kind of like liquid crack, and the next day you go, I need some more crack, right? 'Cause I don't want to train and do this without that again, right? I mean, that's because it is a tectonic shift when this says your performance is physically more elevated, right? Table tennis is a sport where you have your sequences, you have your strategy, and what happens is you hope physically you are feeling good that day. Well, you take this, you can categorically know you're physically on another level. So it shifts you're thinking, right?
So,
Right?
it's funny.
I started looking at all those YouTube videos and what everybody had to say, because I was like, okay, that's a game changer, you know? And it also lets me know what the other ketone products out there, they just didn't perform like this. You know, they just, this one
You've
is.
tried all of them?
I'm sorry?
You've tried all of them or some of them?
Ketone, Keto Force, Keto OS. Those are the 3 that I tried.
Okay.
And
If you're going to try one,
I'm sorry?
try the Max. If you're going to try one,
I've never tried the Max.
Try the Max. So the Max is mostly non-racemic, so it's just a D form, which is supposed to be the bioavailable, the form that works. So it allows you to take half the salt intake per gram of DBHB versus the other products, which allows you to then be able to take, 2 packets, where if you took 2 packets or 3 packets of the other stuff, you would start getting the runs because you'd have too much.
Okay.
I mean, salt's great and all, but not 5.
The reason I stayed away from Keto OS is I didn't really like I think they had dairy in it.
Not anymore. Not their. That's their old stuff.
See, it must have been a while.
Hey, I don't care. Just keep on buying the ester.
Yeah, I have one here. It just.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It was I didn't want caffeine. That's what
they do sell. They do. I don't know why I'm using my time to advertise them, but they do sell caffeinated.
I'm just saying. See, like I don't even take that anymore, just because I go. I don't like the effect. You know. I mean,
right. Yeah. If you want
completely different.
Caffeine,
I mean, if we're in the keto game, let's just talk about how it's different, so the people just know. Because I have a whole bunch of it, and it's just literally just sitting back there. You know. So.
Maybe someone will listen to this and buy it off of you. But they do sell the Max without caffeine. So, if until our stuff is available, that would be the one to play with. But so one thing we're having right now, so this is our last couple of days of our Indiegogo campaign. And a lot of feedback that I'm getting from people is that they just want to try, the 3-pack and, for $100 as opposed to getting the trainer pack. Or, ultimately, I think what people need to be doing is I think they need to be getting the 3 times trainer pack so that they can be playing with it for a long amount of time. Because the problem is, if you just buy the 3-pack and then you wait for it and you love it, and then you go back to the website and you say, okay, I want to buy the 3 trainer pack now, it's going to be sold out because everyone else, we got one order the other day for $60,000 from one team because they figured it out.
Right.
So
crazy.
I'm trying to tell people without sounding too salesy, I'm just like, you should be stockpiling it now because if this gets on the cover of, ESPN magazine, we're not going to be able to make it for 9 months, and we'll be, selling it in bulk to teams. And, people are tiptoeing, I'm going to buy 3 little bottles and you took 2 servings. So that right there is, the 3-pack would be, 1 performance. Yeah. So.
Right. And, if you go back and read our Facebook messaging, that was the first thing I was asking. Okay, how much does it cost? And, what is considered, 1 serving? Because that was the first thing that I wanted to know, so I can start to say, okay, is this something that I do on a hard training day, or is this something that I do on race day? Because, okay, the performance is priceless. With all the training that you do and the preparation, okay, the price, is high, but do I actually want a good performance? The answer to that is yes. So how do I take this to where it's okay with the budget and I get the performance that I want? So that's kind of the way in my head,
Yeah, and think to yourself, at the end of 3 hours, you could have gone for another 2 or 3 hours. So the first thing that I think of is, could you have taken much less? Could 30 grams or 40 grams have done the same thing for you? So by having the trainer bottle, you can pour out the exact amount and titrate it, or start at the maximum, the perfect amount, and then cut back. Because for the weight loss people, this one person for appetite suppression, she took 40 grams, loved it, And then I said, and she said that, she didn't eat for hours and had a crazy energy. The plan was to take 220 grams on Thanksgiving to, have her not eat all the Thanksgiving food around. She took the first 20 grams. She said, Frank, I just stopped. I didn't need the second 20 grams 6 hours later. So there's a decent chance that, you would be fine with half. So then we're getting down to, $25, still expensive, but if you're blowing it out, you can do it maybe for one practice a day and then, one performance once a week. Yeah, it's pricey, but it works.
Yeah. For how much time people put in training, I want to know just so I can talk to my wife and she see that charge and she understand what it is. I want to get, I want to get confirmation that that's okay with her. Look, I'm going, and my wife is a runner. So the way that I can sell it on her is you can use this for your run. Right. There's nothing that I purchased that she didn't say, give me some, Right. So for me, that's the selling point for me,
Actually, you brought an amazing point up. So one way to look at it is that it was, it could be $30 or $50, $60 per performance, or you can think of it as I work out 20 hours this week in order to try to move my game 5%. And if you spread out that, that $50 over those 20 hours, that's, $2 an hour. Are you worth $2 an hour? Not that you're going to stop working out, but, if you put those two things together, you can actually you might be able to work out half as much and then take the ester and have the same performance, or you keep your workouts the same and, take it to that next level. And, and if you're competitive, when you're making money, that's a whole other, calculation, right? If you're making, some people make $5 grand, 10 grand, 50 grand per performance that they win, right? Then it's, it's a rounding error.
I mean, if you look at it in its as simple as terms is, how much is your performance worth, right? Like, do you want to have a good experience? And if you got a $5,000 bike and helmet and shoes and this and training and the coach, wait a minute. And of all of that, this one thing can actually elevate your performance. Your shoes will not elevate your performance. Your helmet or your racket will not elevate your actual performance. So for me, I look at it as all of these things are necessary, but this is absolute, right? Okay, so you can have all of this and then you can have a crappy performance. Okay, so you just killed your last 6 months because you didn't want to spend this amount of money that could elevate your performance. So for me, I look at performing well because from sports, why does sometimes a person say, why was this so good? Or why was this performance so bad? I was terrible today. And then here's a part that says, we're going to elevate that physical performance. Sign me up. I can spend all this time and guarantee this will elevate my performance. That's a no-brainer because that's what you remember. You don't really remember the result. You remember the performance, right? The winning and losing, okay, fine. But if you have a good performance, sometimes you see those people, they're doing the Ironmans and they're just straggling in. Yeah. Remember that they were just straggling in. And then they remember that day they came in like this. It says, okay, now you just had a good performance. Whatever that is, write it down and says, proceed. Keep doing that. So that's really the way I look at it because I am.
Well, I thank you very much. Thank you for trying it. We'll have to get you to try, half and see if it's, half as good, or it actually might even be the same it might be the same because, you know, I like to equate this drink as helping you get to 100% of your ability. So some people that on the mental side, they function in a 95, 98% world where their brain is functioning on 98% or 95% glucose. And you bring in the ketones, it just fills you up, takes you to 100. No big deal. You don't notice it.
Tops you off.
Many people are in the, you know, 80, 85. You take the ester and it fuels the brain, that gap takes you to 100. And then, you know, that extra 15%, they feel a lot more. So, you know, if this brought you to your 100%, I just wonder how little could take you to the same amount. So, I mean, it could be as low as 20 or 30. Yeah. So
that's a good question. I just, I don't know. I just know at the end of the night, you know, it's like you don't want the party to end, but you can see people saying, okay, it's time for me to go home. And I'm like, no, it's just like, I need to find out where is the actual limit of what this is. Right. You know, because
we should hop on a bike and then just bike for the next couple hours and see when you're stopped.
I'm in North Carolina, and if it wasn't 20 degrees outside, I would have actually rode my bike. I would have said, I'm going to go out and ride for 1 hour because I know what my numbers are, you know, but I refuse. I'm just relocated from South Florida. So I'm used to 80 degrees. I'm not used to 20 degrees. So I said, man, I refuse to ride in 20 degrees, you know. So that's why when I was first saying I want to use it for cycling, and you said table tennis, I said, you know what, that's probably better because my cycling numbers wouldn't be good in this cold weather because my body, I only know my South Florida numbers, you know.
And this, just to reiterate, your energy wasn't a jittery caffeine type energy. It's not like you wanted to go on a bike, not because you were all buzzing. It was just because you felt like you hadn't really started.
Yeah, I just did the whole night. I kept saying to myself, is steady state. And the reason I don't do caffeine or any of that, because I don't want this. I don't want the drop. That's the reason I wouldn't take anything that has caffeine in it. I don't want to take it because I don't want to feel good and burn through it and not have anything. So for me, it was steady state.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And let me just stop this recording. And yeah, I thank you. We'll try it again.
Okay. Fantastic.
Back on. Oh, dude, we're back here. So when we paused it, we kept on chatting and you started talking about your appetite. So I wanted to be like, hey, let's turn this back on. So what happened when you went home as far as your appetite?
I didn't eat. And
you normally would do, yeah.
Normally I eat because I just, from 5:30 to 9, I'm basically in a 15-minute boxing match for 3.5 hours. And I got home and I was like, I'm not even hungry. So, you know, like sometimes you forget to eat. And other times you just go, I don't have an appetite. I'm just going to go to bed. You know, so that literally that's what it was. I was okay. I don't feel any hunger pains. I don't feel anything. I'm just going to go to sleep. And that's literally what happened.
All right, we'll end on that. Thanks. Here, and this is a second PS. You just told me that you didn't eat that entire day because normally the protocol is for the morning. So I said, you know, can you hold off? So tell me about how many hours you went without actually eating food beyond that glucose packet and the ketone packet.
I normally eat at 2 o'clock, right? So you said if you're starting at 6, don't eat that day. So I said, okay, well, I'm just not going to eat. I was assuming I was going to eat afterwards. So from probably, I can't remember, but I might have eaten at 4 o'clock the day before, right? So I sleep through the night, wake up, don't eat anything, just have water, electrolytes, nothing that'll change anything. And then at 6 o'clock, at 5:30, I took the UCAN gel pack concoction. And at 6 o'clock, I took the keto, and then I went right to 9 o'clock. Got home maybe around 9:40, and I wasn't hungry. And what are you
I mean,
doing?
that's almost 2 days.
I'm sorry?
I mean, if you do intermittent fasting and you eat, let's say on a Thursday, you eat at 2 or 4 p.m., and then the next day was your performance on Friday, and you skipped meals except for you didn't eat anything, and then you waited until the next day, 2 or 4 o'clock, that's like 48 hours of no food except for that glucose and ketones. That's crazy.
Yeah. And you know, what's funny is the day of it, my brain normally says, hey, you got to eat around this time. And I have this like normal, like this, like trail mix or some snack. And I just said, I can't eat because I want to make sure that I don't ruin the performance. And then
right.
after I took the concoction, now I'm actually not hungry. When I was a little bit hungry, I wanted to eat.
Right.
And after I took it, I was like, well, I'm actually not hungry now. So what are you doing? You're not hungry. And then I woke up the next morning and I probably didn't eat until probably like noon because I could have ate, but I just said, well, let me try to get back on my schedule. So then I just ate
right.
it, so that might have been like 40 hours,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Insane. Guys need to get more feedback of how the people are responding to it, even from appetite standpoint, because that actually suppressed my appetite. I know, because I would normally, if I do that much exercising, I would eat. I know